At my son's wedding, I faced an incredible betrayal. What happened next will astound you. The ballroom was a dazzling spectacle beneath the glittering chandeliers, the air thick with laughter and celebratory chatter, as David stood near the entrance, feigning a smile while his heart raced. Today was supposed to be the crowning achievement of his American dream, the wedding day of his beloved son, Jake. But with every clink of glasses and joyous cheer, a shadow loomed heavier over him. Mark, his once close friend, stood across the room, ready to toast their years of camaraderie from the microphone. David clenched his jaw. Mark, with his undeniable confidence, felt like a glaring reminder of every failure, every jagged edge of their broken friendship. In the flashing moments of nostalgia, David could see the reflection of their shared journey. They had swept through the same streets in high school, eyes bright with dreams of success, as they spoke about futures filled with love, loyalty, and honorable ambition. Yet as the years turned, jealousy had crept in like a thief in the night, tilting the scales of their friendship towards competition and bitterness. Mark's meteoric rise as a self-made entrepreneur was a stark shade against David's steady, mundane path as an accountant, one of hard work at the expense of grand ambitions. The weight of this disparity pressed heavily against his chest, a tightening grip he couldn't shake off. David's mind raced back to the moments when he had sacrificed late nights and weekends to provide for his family. All for what? To stand here, apprehensive that the man who had once been like a brother would now take the spotlight at his son's most important moment. Footsteps echoed as guests began to shuffle to their seats, pulses quickening in anticipation. David took a deep breath, battling an undercurrent of anger bubbling just beneath the surface. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mark's voice broke through, capturing the guests' rapt attention. He spoke of family, loyalty, and the values that bound them together. But the words felt hollow to David. As Mark shaded himself in a warm light, another revelation flickered through David's mind. A darkness, lurking and monstrous. He could almost see it on the horizon, the specter of betrayal coming to life in the very embrace of a day meant for celebration. A swell of anguish flared in his chest. The truth crashed into him like a tidal wave. Mark had been seeing Lisa, Jake's fiancée, behind David's back. Every moment of laughter shared and memories forged felt like a devastating lie. As if cued by David's racing thoughts, Mark caught his eye and smirked, an almost taunting wave of smugness that ignited David's fury. Suddenly, he felt the impulse surge through his veins like wildfire, the determination to protect his family outweighing everything else. With every fiber in his being, David could not allow this day, this precious culmination of dreams, to be sullied. He stepped forward, interrupting the saccharine praise with a tone steady yet laced with anguish. You have something to say, Mark? Something about loyalty and family betrayal? The room fell into oppressive silence, tension thickening as he locked eyes with Mark, acutely aware of the weight of his words. Uncertainty twisted like a knife in David's gut, but his resolve only hardened. This isn't over, he declared, knowing fully that the moment of confrontation could shatter everything he'd fought to protect. The air crackled with the gravity of the moment, leaving the story of loyalty, betrayal, and the essence of success hanging perilously in the balance. David stood firm, the moment stretching into a painful silence as the room weighed heavier with his words. Guests exchanged glances, confusion etched on their faces. Mark, unfazed at first, channeled a veneer of grace, likely steeling himself against the storm David had just summoned. But beneath that surface, anger and disbelief simmered. David's heart pounded. The confrontation was not merely about betrayal. It was about his identity, his place within his family, and the life he had painstakingly built. In that suspended moment, he realized that his focus had been too narrow. He had allowed envy and self-doubt to craft an image of himself as just an accountant, forever inferior to the glowing embodiment of Mark's ambition. No more. Mark. David took another step forward. You speak of family, yet here you are, betraying us all. The words were searing hot, fueled with the chilling truth he had just uncovered. Family wasn't merely defined by blood, but by trust and respect. Two things that lay in ruins at Mark's feet. David's mind raced. What would Lisa think? This was supposed to be a joyous occasion, and yet in an ironic twist, David found his voice, discovering strength wrapped in vulnerability. As guests began to murmur, David felt a surge of clarity. This was not just a deflection of angst, but a call for honesty, an opportunity to correct the narrative of his life. He had spent years suffocating under expectations, dwindling dreams morphing him into a shadow of who he could be. Today he would not retreat. He would reclaim his story. I won't let you tarnish my son's day, David continued. What you've done is unforgivable, and I refuse to stand idle while you bask in your deceit. The conviction in his voice resonated, slicing through the gathered crowd like a blade. Mark's facade began to falter, anger replacing smugness. You think you can dictate how this goes? You'll regret this, David. You know how many bridges you're burning? His voice dripped with disdain, yet David recognized the tremor beneath it. Mark was starting to feel threatened. The very air he breathed was becoming toxic. The realization ignited something fierce within David. The time had come to not merely confront Mark, but also to confront himself. To let go of the fears that had held him back and acknowledge his own worth. Deep within, he discovered a nascent resilience fashioned in the flames of betrayal. I have built my life on hard work and integrity, he shot back, feeling newfound confidence swell within him. Maybe it's time I started acting like it. With those words, he punctuated an invisible turning point. This day could transform from one marred by betrayal into one harnessed by growth, a new foundation forged from pain. As conversations erupted around him, David's thoughts spiraled inward. What was his next move? How far was he willing to take this newfound strength? In the depths of his mind, questions lingered. Seek clarity, strengthen familial bonds, reclaim respect, even challenge his own limits. The reverberation of conflict pulsed through him, igniting a fierce desire to redefine who he was going to be. He could not allow this scandal, this affront, to script the rest of his journey. But as the raucous mutterings of guests exploded into chaos, David caught Mark's icy glare. It transmitted a message that gnawed at him. This wasn't merely a betrayal, but a battle for supremacy. Feeling the pressing weight of unresolved tension, David contemplated his next steps. How would he safeguard his family without spinning deeper into conflict? As clarity settled in, the anticipation crackled around him again. The battle had only begun, and with every word shared, every moment encapsulated in that ballroom, the path of reconciliation or revenge loomed tantalizingly before him. One choice could change everything. One step could either fortify his family's bonds or lead to their downfall. Which road would he travel down next? David's mind raced as the noise of the guests swirled around him, adding to the dissonance within. He had opened a door to a confrontation that might redefine everything. His identity, his values, and the future of his relationships. Mark's cold glare was a mirror reflecting the darkness David had buried deep within himself. This wasn't simply a face-off with his brother, it was a reckoning. Turning away from the chaos momentarily, David took a deep breath, channeling the rising tide of anger within into clarity. No longer would he be the passive figure, playing second fiddle to Mark's ambitions. He scanned the crowd, noticing the range of emotions etched on familiar faces: surprise, anger, sympathy. Among them, his wife Lisa stood silent, her eyes wide, searching for him in the confusion. In that instant, he grasped the weight of his actions. He had not only challenged Mark, but had also put everything he valued on the line. It struck him. Every relationship he had ever nurtured rested on this moment. Was he willing to break this familial bond for the sake of his principles? Determination surged through him. This wasn't just about proving Mark wrong or defending his son's day. It was about claiming his place in this tangled web of connections. "It's time I stop letting others define my worth," he thought, as he faced the uncertain reality of his next move. "Everyone deserves a voice in this, not just the ones who shout the loudest," David declared, ensuring he spoke to every corner of the room. The passion in his voice surged, contagious and potent. He could see the hesitation in Mark's eyes as he started to understand the shift occurring. This struggle felt almost primal, a battle of wills, pressured by the unspoken rules of family loyalty and respect. David found himself drawing strength from the crowd's reactions. "This is about more than blood," he continued. "It's about honor, family, and integrity. If we forget those principles, what do we have left?" Each word layered his conviction with authenticity, forcing not just Mark but everyone present to confront their complicity in this charade of family unity. As the murmurs sharpened into sharper whispers, a realization dawned on him. He could be the catalyst for a transformation not just for himself, but for everyone around him. Yet as the crowd shifted, David felt a strange dread creeping in. What if his family was too far gone to mend? What if Mark's betrayal became a chasm rather than a bridge to healing? He needed to prop himself up with actionable steps, to turn this emotional upheaval into a structured plan to restore their bonds. Gradually, the chaotic energy morphed into a focused tension. "This is the beginning, not the end," he asserted, glancing at Lisa, who gave him an encouraging nod. "Let us reclaim the values that brought us together in the first place." As he spoke, the anchor of his history with Mark tugged deeper. He remembered moments they shared as children, laughter, challenges, and a mutual reliance that had begun to fade into rivalry. Could those memories be the foundation for a new dialogue? Or would they remain trapped there, forever tainted by betrayal? With resolve swelling within, David held Mark's gaze, prepared for a counterattack that might illuminate their shared past. "Let's talk about what we can do now, to heal, to restore, and to redefine our family." Mark's face twisted, the anger still simmering under the surface. It was a delicate moment, poised on the knife edge of a potential reconciliation against the fierce current of vengeance. The outcome loomed nearer, and David now understood. This was not merely a battle for his self-worth. It was a pivotal moment, the point at which he would choose whether to fight for reconciliation or descend into conflict. But there lied a deeper question, gnawing within him. Would Mark accept the olive branch, or would he throw it back in David's face, deepening the fracture between them? The tension hung heavy as David awaited Mark's response. The defining moment was at hand. Would his brother yield, or had the line of separation grown too wide to ever return? Mark's expression hardened, an impenetrable mask settling over his features. All the years of sibling rivalry, buried accusations, and festering grievances seemed to rise like smoke between them. David's heart pounded as he sensed the weight of anticipation pressing down on him. Time appeared suspended, pushing the boundaries of the moment toward something irrevocable. "Do you think this facade of wisdom will change anything?" Mark's voice sliced through the air, low but laced with contempt. "You talk about listening, about integrity, but you've been living in my shadow, waiting for your moment. Look around, David. They want me to lead." David swallowed hard. The anger threatening to ignite within him was tempered by a clearer intent. This was not just about his brother's rejection. It was an invitation to dig deeper, to find strength not purely in confrontation, but in vulnerability. You've always seen me that way, haven't you? David responded, his voice surprisingly steady. As someone lesser. But this isn't just me asserting my worth. It's about redefining our bond. If you think I'll waver because of the way you view me, you're mistaken. A ripple passed through the crowd, some nodding, while others shifted uncomfortably, casting glances between the two brothers locked in their psychological tug-of-war. David used those moments to gather his thoughts, the stakes so high that the familiar ties of brotherhood threatened to unravel before him. Mark, he continued, his words rolling out with conviction. This isn't just about you or me. It's about our family, everything we owe to one another. We can rebuild, redefine what it means to be brothers, rebuild trust. His gaze swept the audience. We don't have to be enemies. We don't have to compete. Mark's brow furrowed. Doubt flickered across his face before resentment clouded it again. You're painting a pretty picture, but some wounds don't heal just because you want them to. In that moment, under the weight of his brother's skepticism, David felt the first tendrils of despair reaching out to ensnare him. It illuminated a painful truth. Mark was not just a brother. He was a mirror reflecting David's own insecurities back to him. What if we dared to confront those wounds? The question hung unasked between them, leaving David to explore the fog of his thoughts. He realized Mark's defensiveness was a reflection of his own. Were they both just products of their upbringing, grappling for validation beyond the familial ties that had bullied them both, as children and as adults? He breathed deeply to center himself, trying to deploy strategies he'd honed in the corporate world: negotiation, empathy, assertiveness. What if we outlined a plan together, step by step? For once, let's put our differences aside and prioritize our family. We owe it to Mom and Dad. Mark bristled at the mention of their parents. You think they'd be proud of this? Of you showing me up in front of everyone? The confrontation forced David to grapple anew with feelings of inadequacy that stemmed from childhood. Instead of succumbing to the quicksand of Mark's disdain, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had the power to alter the narrative, not just within this confrontation, but within the broader context of his life. I'm not here to show anyone up. I'm here to stand firm on my own ground. This is the start of understanding, not divisiveness. Each word reverberated with intent, resonating with the crowd that hung on every syllable. A spark caught in David's consciousness. What if, despite Mark's antagonism, there lay a common ground? They just needed to unearth it together. The air crackled with uncertainty as Mark's gaze faltered for just a heartbeat. David could almost sense the crack forming in Mark's rigidity, the possibility of a sliver of compromise. Yet, doubt lingered. The stakes were higher than David imagined, and his previous confidence wavered with the realization that reconciliation would require much more than words. Would the years of rivalry and misunderstanding allow them to venture into uncharted territory, or would they spiral back into old patterns of animosity? The tension between them hung thick, and David could feel the ground shifting underneath. Would his brother step closer toward reconciliation, or would he recoil into the shadows of their competitive past, sealing their fates once more? Bracing for another response, David stood on the precipice, aware that this was not merely about the two of them any longer. It was the first echo of a potential reconciliation, and the echoes would reverberate far beyond themselves. David's breath caught as he met Mark's gaze, a turbulent mix of emotion swirling just below the surface. Everything he had built up, every ounce of courage summoned, now felt suspended in a delicate balance between fear and hope. In that second, he understood. This moment was a crossroads, one that could send their relationship spiraling further into animosity, or lead them down a path of reflection and possibly reconciliation. Mark, David began, lowering his voice almost imperceptibly. I know you feel threatened. I've spent my life trying to find my place in your shadow. I want us to move beyond this, beyond the competition. He forced himself to remain steady as he continued to speak. Let's acknowledge our past. but not be defined by it. It's time we work together. Mark's mouth tightened, but the hardness in his eyes shifted slightly. Just for a moment, David glimpsed the possibility that his brother's resentment might be rooted in more than mere rivalry, a shared pain born from their childhood they'd both avoided confronting. Working together? You make it sound so easy. Mark scoffed, his tone betraying his struggle. And what does that even look like? We're both so far apart. David leaned into the moment, refusing to back down. It looks like being honest. It means acknowledging our failures, not just each other's mistakes, but our own. I'm ready to own my story, my insecurities, and to let go of the need for approval. The crowd was silent now, each individual hanging on the words that felt both brave and precarious. It dawned on David that this public confrontation wasn't solely about him or Mark. It served as a mirror for everyone watching, a collective resonation of personal battles fought in different arenas. Would sharing their truth encourage others to confront their own? You claim I live in your shadow, David pressed, opening himself up a little more. But I've spent so much time wishing I could be someone else, a version of myself I thought would make you proud. I can't do that anymore. I can only step into my own light. Mark's expression flickered, revealing the smallest crack in his defense as he struggled to comprehend David's newfound assertiveness. Maybe you've spent your life seeking validation, Mark finally said, an edge of vulnerability creeping into his voice. But I'm drowning in insecurities about whether I deserve to lead. That's why this feels like a fight for survival, because it is. Every word cut deeper, peeling back layers of distance accumulated over decades. For the first time, David understood that their rivalry was steeped in shared fear. It encouraged him to push further, the need for resolution igniting a fire within him. What if we held each other accountable instead of fighting? David suggested. We could create something entirely new, something beyond our past. I'm willing to be the first to step forward. Are you? As silence blanketed the arena, the ripple of hope intertwining with hesitation haunted both brothers. Each man stood tethered to his own history, yet a flicker of potential wrapped around them, waiting to be ignited. Mark's eyes narrowed as he wrestled with the proposed vulnerability. The familiar impulse to retaliate brewed within him, but beneath that anger lay something softer, a seed of intrigue. What if I say yes? What happens next? David's pulse quickened at the challenge. It was the crossroads he needed. This was the moment to either spark a new narrative or retreat into past habits. Empowered by his brother's unexpected openness, David realized true leadership began with embracing imperfections. As he wrestled with a response, an impenetrable silence stretched before him, each individual in the crowd holding their breath. But what lay beyond this moment of reckoning? Would Mark summon the courage to meet him halfway, or was this just a fleeting spark in a long history of darkness? David stood on the precipice of vulnerability, fully aware that the determination to forge ahead hinged on each hesitant step they would take together, or not at all. Would he summon the conviction to lead their transformation, or would Mark draw back, leaving David to grapple anew with his deepest fears? David could feel the earth beneath them shifting again, and with bated breath, he awaited the inevitable turning point. Would they seize this chance for healing, or spiral back into the rivalry that had defined them for so long? The tension thickened, pregnant with potential. The weight of the moment pressed heavily on David as he met his brother's gaze. In that silence, he felt acutely aware of each heartbeat thudding in his chest. His mind raced, contemplating the enormity of the decision that lay before both of them. The prospect of reconciliation flickered like a distant light, competing against shadows of doubt and fear. "Look," Mark began, his voice suddenly softer, yet threaded with tension. "This isn't about just us. You don't know the stakes, what we're risking." It was an opening, a glimmer of something deeper than rivalry. David's instincts urged him to seize it, to guide the conversation into the uncharted waters they had long avoided. "What do you mean?" David pressed. urgency knitting his brows. We've been trapped in this cycle for too long. If we don't confront whatever's underneath the surface, we'll never move forward. Tell me what you're really afraid of. Mark shifted uncomfortably, and for a fleeting moment, David witnessed the flicker of vulnerability that had remained hidden for years. I'm afraid of failing again, he admitted, words escaping like a confession. What if I try to reach out, and it all goes sideways? What if this partnership fails like everything else I've attempted? David leaned closer, feeling the pulse of fear resonate between them. Failure isn't the end. It's just part of the journey. We can learn from it. I've been so focused on what you think of me that I forgot to consider your perspective, what you want, what you fear. We both want to succeed. Let's redefine what that means. The dynamic in Mark's expression shifted, eyes narrowing as if he weighed the implications of David's words. David felt a swell of determination surge within him. He realized he could not simply speak the words. He had to embody them. This required an authenticity he was still learning to embrace. I can't promise it will be easy, Mark said, hesitating. But I think I'm ready to try. The admission hit like a thunderclap, reverberating in the silence that enveloped them. David's heart swelled with cautious optimism. Then let's put everything on the table. No secrets, no burdens. It's hard, but it's the only way forward. He felt lighter, liberated from the chains of expectation that had formed over the years. This was more than just about winning. It was about growth, mutual respect, and forging a new path. However, as he shared his intent, an unsettling thought wormed its way into David's mind. What if there were hidden rifts beyond their relationship? What if the tension in the audience reflected not only their histories, but the fractured expectations of those who had come to watch? He noticed a flicker of judgment in the eyes of familiar faces, family members, friends, colleagues, all waiting for what he might say. He scanned the faces around them, aware that this moment could unravel more than just their sibling rivalry. Had he turned the spotlight on their struggles while unknowingly digging them further into scrutiny? What if his and Mark's shared revelations ignited more than introspection? What if it blew open old wounds he had unintentionally bypassed? Let's talk about our childhood, David suggested, his heart racing. To help us understand these patterns, we need to acknowledge how the past has shaped us, together. As the words left his mouth, David felt the brief thrill of agency mixed with apprehension. Would this deep dive risk destabilizing the fragile truce they had just begun to form? The tension surged in the air, as heavy as the silence that once filled it. Mark's brow furrowed, caught between a desire to confront the past and the instinct to flee. Initially reluctant, he took a deep breath, preparing himself for an emotional exploration he had long avoided. The crowd leaned in closer, curiosity piquing just enough to amplify the impending confrontation. David felt each breath shared draw Mark and him closer to a raw confrontation with the unspeakable truths that tied them. Would addressing their childhood together as brothers lead to empowerment? Or would it unravel everything they had begun to construct? The road ahead was blank, filled with uncertainty, and yet the potential for transformation pulsed in the charged atmosphere. Now came the moment of reckoning, one that could change everything, and neither brother could turn back. David felt the anticipation sweep through him, each decision poised to alter the fabric of their relationship forever. He was ready to step into that role, to face down any consequence, unearthing truths both liberating and terrifying. Mark was still processing, eyes searching David's for assurance. Would he echo the sentiment or retreat? The answers lay within them, but the clock was ticking. The time had come to face not only the darkness within themselves, but the light that might finally guide them both into the open. In the charged atmosphere, David could sense the weight of history pressing down on not just themselves, but every soul gathered. He cast a concerned glance at Mark, their silent dialogue communicating volumes. This was more than a confrontation between siblings. It was a reckoning with a past that had long festered unacknowledged. David latched onto that moment, realizing now wasn't just about unearthing grievances. It was about delving into the crucible of their shared upbringing, one that had forged both their identities, but also the very rifts that divided them. "All right," Mark finally breathed, a fragile resolve settling in his stance. "But where do we even start?" David contemplated the memories that flooded his mind, a kaleidoscope of shared laughter tinged with undercurrents of resentment. "Let's start with the day it all changed," he proposed, his voice steady, despite the tremor of anxiety creeping into his chest. "The day we lost our dad." Mark's shoulders tensed visibly at the mention of their father, but David pressed on. "He was the rock for us, but the moment he passed, everything unraveled. It was like we were left stranded without a guide." He observed Mark's expression, a mixture of grief and challenge reflected in his eyes. "We each dealt with that pain differently. You turned inward, and You acted out," Mark interjected, a spark of defensiveness igniting. "You fled to your friends, always finding distraction. You never understood what I was going through." For a fraction of a moment, David felt the familiar sting of anger, but he tempered it with acknowledgement. "Maybe you're right. But I thought you were too absorbed in your own world to notice I needed you. We were lost. I wanted us to lean on each other, but we built walls instead." The dialogue unveiled layers of fragmentation he hadn't bothered to peel back before. Each conversation they avoided had left scars, but now, admitting these truths had the potential to heal wounds or exacerbate them. David's pulse raced as he articulated boundaries long ignored, a pivotal shift from anger to understanding. Mark's jaw clenched, but something careful opened in his expression as David continued to navigate the conversation. "I feared losing you, Mark. I thought if I could keep you at arm's length, the pain wouldn't consume me. But in doing so, I pushed you away, and everything spiraled out of control." The audience, once a faceless backdrop, now felt profoundly tangible, their breath collectively held as if they too awaited the outcome. Their scrutiny was heavy, but David blocked it out, focusing only on his brother's response. "I've felt that loss all these years," Mark finally confessed, voice cracking. "I resented you for seeming so carefree while I was drowning. And now, standing here, I can see it wasn't your fault. I should have reached out, but I didn't know how." Recognition stretched between them, an invisible thread drawn taut by honesty. David found his footing in this realm of vulnerability, a new sense of agency washing over him. He realized he didn't just owe it to Mark to open up. He owed it to himself and the journey of becoming whole. "Maybe it's easier to let the past dictate our future," David suggested, a renewed determination in his tone. "But what if we choose differently? What if acknowledging this truth leads us towards something greater, something more authentic? We can redefine our journey." Mark shifted his weight, veins coursing with a mix of fear and hope. "I want that too, but I don't know if I can..." The uncertainty lingered in his voice, hovering like a specter. The clock was ticking, but this conversation was inherently slow, packed with meanings that demanded weighing and measuring. David pressed deeper, recognizing a need for transformation that transcended their own personal conflicts. What if, together, we stepped into the light of this moment, sharing how we hurt but also how we heal? Might it lead to redemption? As the weight of possibility hovered, a profound silence enveloped them. Both brothers hung on the precipice of change, teetering between a shared past that haunted them and an uncertain future that beckoned. David caught a fleeting look from Mark, an unspoken agreement flickering between them. They were on the brink of something monumental, daring enough to embrace the vulnerability to confront their choices. But just as light began to shine through the cracks of their fragile truce, David sensed a shadow creeping back. What if they weren't ready to confront every fragment of their shared history? What if the acceptance they sought remained just out of reach, tainted by that lingering doubt? And what lay beyond this confessional moment brought even darker truths. With a single breath shared in the charged silence, David stepped closer to the abyss of both their fears, questioning not only how to break free, but what new sacrifices they might inadvertently have to face. The possibilities were infinite, but so were the risks, and the looming uncertainty begged the question: could they handle the revelations waiting to emerge? David stood poised on the edge of the conversation, grasping the significance of the moment, yet feeling the weight of impending decisions. The abyss yawned wide, revealing not just unresolved pain, but also the potential for reconciliation, if only he could find the right words. "Mark," he began, voice clear despite the turmoil within. "What if we shared the things we've always kept hidden? What if letting out the truth frees us from the chains of our past?" His eyes locked onto his brother's, willing him to understand the importance of this step. Mark's gaze wandered momentarily, as if contemplating the gravity of David's suggestion. He shifted his weight, a sign that he was still calculating the risks. "It's frightening, Dave. What if we unravel things that are better left alone?" A flood of mixed emotions surged through David, frustration mingled with encouragement. "What if those things are the very roots of our pain? I can't keep living like this. I need to believe we can move beyond our dad's death. His legacy deserves better than bitterness between us." The silence deepened, thickening the air around them as David's invitation hung there, heavy with possibility. The audience remained a background hum, their curiosity palpable but unspoken. At that moment, David realized their focus wasn't on performance, but on authenticity. Everyone yearned for the truth, however uncomfortable. Calmness steadied his heart, even while it raced. He felt a newfound determination, a flame igniting within. "We carry our father's lessons inside us. We could honor him by being honest, Mark. I'm willing to take that leap. Can you?" "Taking a leap implies you're ready for the fall," Mark replied, voice low. "What if I can't handle what comes next?" David nodded, feeling the pulse of emotions surging in the space between them. "We've already fallen, haven't we? Since the day he died. This is our moment to choose to stand up again." The walls around their memories began to wear thin. Emotions flickered behind their eyes. David's mind raced with a dizzying array of unsaid truths and fears, born of years spent sidestepping real conversations. He deliberated on the possibility of shared healing, rather than engaging only with the scars. "I remember the laughter, but also the way he looked when he realized life was slipping away." David's voice trembled slightly as painful images resurfaced. "I watched him give everything, and then I saw you vanish into silence. I was drowning in a sea of confusion, feeling abandoned yet furious that you held it all in." Mark inhaled sharply. "I thought my silence protected you from the pain I was in. I didn't want to burden you. It felt like the only way to honor him was to carry the legacy alone." In that moment, David saw a glimmer of clarity in Mark's expression, and understood that their conceptions of burden had long tormented them. "It isn't a burden to share wounds or grief, Mark. It's part of being family. Yet we've acted like we were at odds since that day. Then what do we do now?" Mark's voice was barely a whisper, the gravity of his realization weighing down hard. "Now?" David hesitated only a moment. "Now we become a team again. Together, we embrace our vulnerabilities and welcome the conversation we've avoided. We're no longer children lost without a guide. We can navigate this territory as adults who have something to gain." Mark took a moment, grappling with the potential for this shift. Fear intertwined with hope as he finally nodded. "It's terrifying. But maybe it's time to find out what's underneath those walls we built. We owe it to ourselves to try, to dig deeper." David breathed a sigh of relief. Yet he knew this was just the beginning. They stood at the starting line of an intricate race, and the course was uncharted. "Then let's start with what we've buried the deepest. You told me I acted carefree, but what was your subconscious keeping from me?" Every heartbeat echoed the urgency of impending revelations. Their shared truth lay before them, daunting yet ultimately liberating. But would their past concede as they ventured for it? David could feel the stirring tension take hold, a fearful anticipation juxtaposed with a growing resolve. This wasn't merely about healing. It was about the potential for rebirth. As they prepared to delve into the raw uncertainty of their past, the air shimmered with unspoken fears and desires. What dark truths awaited? And how might their fragile agreement hold up against the weight of honesty? The question lingered, intensifying the tension between them. A fragile promise that could either forge a stronger bond or lead to painful disarray. Would they emerge whole, or would the path forward lead to new fractures? David's heart raced, each second thundering in his chest as Mark shifted his weight anxiously, struggling with the proposal David had laid bare. The faded scars of their shared past shimmered in the back of his mind, a stark reminder of the coexistence between love and resentment. "What do you feel when you think about our childhood?" David asked, willing the conversation to keep flowing. The fragile threads of their bond dangled precariously, and he needed to weave a narrative of understanding. Mark's brow furrowed deeply as he grappled with memories long buried. There were moments of joy, sure, but the silence, that deep chasm between us. I was always afraid of what it would mean if I spoke up. There was so much I didn't understand, so many questions. David focused intently. What questions? His tone was steady, inviting Mark into a space that had long felt hostile. Mark hesitated, as if the act of articulating those thoughts would shatter a carefully constructed facade. "Did you ever suspect I was struggling? That I felt like a failure for not being able to be the brother you needed?" The vulnerability in Mark's admission hit David hard. A wave of empathy washed over him, blanketing the anger he had nursed for years. "How was I supposed to know? You made it seem like you had it all together." "I thought I did," Mark replied, voice thick with emotion. "But I was just hiding everything to keep you from feeling alone. I didn't realize I was pushing you away in the process. I didn't know how to navigate my pain and help you with yours." David noted the trembling in Mark's voice, the cracks of his armor beginning to show. He felt a surge of compassion join the determination to seek the truth they both needed to embrace. Maybe we both thought silence was protection, but it turned out to be a prison instead. "Yeah," Mark said, his eyes glistening. "A prison where we both served time, chained to our own fears." They fell into a heaviness of silence again, aware that the burden of unspoken words was far greater than their shared history. David's thoughts whirled. Each revelation deepened his introspection. How often had he assumed Mark's strength was his own, mistaking silence for resilience? "What did you see in me that made you think I was okay?" Mark's eyes locked with David's, searching for answers, a connection he yearned for. "I saw someone who held it all in and wore a mask," David replied, the anguish of his own misconceptions visible. "I thought I was the only one suffering after Dad passed." The air between them cracked with the tension of acknowledgement. David considered how each had been misled, trapped by expectations they'd set for one another. And with clarity now, he recognized the deeper meaning at play. What if we turn the conversation on ourselves? If we share our failures, could we start healing? That's the path, isn't it? "I just didn't know how to approach you," Mark said, the defeat in his tone stark. "I always thought you'd come to me when you were ready." "No more waiting," David asserted with conviction, the words flowing with newfound intensity. "We are ready now. You don't have to shoulder this alone. I refuse to let you carry the weight by yourself any longer." Mark nodded, a flicker of hope igniting in the depths of his eyes. But what if it's more than we can bear? What if the truths we uncover only drive a deeper wedge between us? David took a deep breath, his heart steadying. Then we face those truths together. Right now, we are not brothers caught in a cycle of pain, but individuals empowered by the knowledge that we can support each other, despite the reality of our past. Mark took a moment, swallowing hard as the enormity of the journey ahead settled over him. So where do we start? David's mind grasped onto their earlier conversation, a directed plan of action coalescing. Let's not just dig into our memories. Let's confront the regrets, the moments we wish we could rewrite. I want to know the whole truth about you, your fears, your failures, everything. But just as he felt they were on the cusp of something vital, the shadows of doubt began to creep back. What if they uncovered irreparable damage, emotions too raw, too volatile? Would they be able to withstand what came next? Mark's expression mirrored his trepidation, but amidst it all lay a spark of resolve. Okay, let's start with the biggest regret. David nodded solemnly, the pressure of their impending revelation heavy, but undeniable. As they prepared to delve deep into their vulnerable truths, he felt a surge of uncertainty intertwined with determination. Together, they would either rise from the ashes or risk an irrevocable fragmentation. As David's thoughts raced with anticipation, another question loomed large. What would the price of truth be? In the chamber of truth where siblings stood defiant against their past, David inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of history crush him and simultaneously liberate him. The eyes of the crowd remained fixed on them, an audience to their catharsis, their collective breath hanging in anticipation. Let's get to it, Mark finally said, the resolve in his voice bolstered by a tinge of vulnerability. My biggest regret is losing touch with the brother I needed most. I became so consumed by my insecurities that I stopped reaching out. It was an admission rattling with honesty, each word a step towards the tether they had both neglected. David met his brother's gaze, embodying a courage rooted not in bravado, but in complete openness. That's monumental, and I appreciate you saying it. My regret? Thinking I had to shoulder every burden alone. It cost me everything. My happiness, our connection, and maybe even the lasting legacy of our father. A wave of understanding washed over them, the past dimming just enough to permit a glimmer of illumination. We were trapped in these roles we created, Mark reflected, a new realization dawning upon him. I was the strong one, and you were second best. But all it took was vulnerability to dismantle that facade. David nodded, recognizing how perceptions of worth had overshadowed their potential for connection. And by competing with you, I lost sight of my own strengths. I sacrificed my voice. Not anymore, Mark affirmed, his expression turning fierce with conviction. We can flip this narrative. Let's redefine our identities, away from shadows. How do we move forward from here? The question hung in the air, morphing into an emblem of potential renewal. David's heart swelled with a mix of apprehension and excitement. They stood on the precipice of transformation. It starts by forging commitments, making ourselves accountable not just to each other, but to our families too, he suggested, feeling the connective thread pulling them close once again. It's time we embrace the future, embrace our purpose. Mark swallowed, the weight of the conversation nudging him toward resolution. Are we ready to dive even deeper? What if uncovering more regrets forces us to confront mistakes I've made with Lisa and others? David took a moment, reflecting on the layers of history still piled high. Then we need to confront those too. But we have to do it together. Bound by honesty, we can reshape our lives. The nervous energy that had once sparked animosity between them now fueled a profound connection. David locked eyes with Mark, sensing a shift. Let's take it step by step. Trust demands action. So let's acknowledge what's held us back, he urged. It's time to sit down with Lisa, to build that bridge and set things right. Set things right, Mark repeated, the tension in his voice dissipating. I want to do that for her too. As they prepared to dive headfirst into their emotional landscape, David felt anticipation swell. They were forging into a new realm of camaraderie, one built on respect and vulnerability. And the foundation did not merely involve them, but extended into the lives of those they cherished. In that moment, everything crystallized. The tenets of professional growth, personal evolution, and the ideals of family converged into a singular point of clarity. David recognized the profound courage it took not just to admit their shared vulnerabilities, but to act upon them. Turning towards the crowd, David's voice resonated with newfound authority. We're ready to embrace honesty, not just between Mark and me, but with each of you. It's our hope that by exposing our regrets, we inspire everyone here to confront their own hidden struggles. A quiet murmuring rippled across the audience. Awareness illuminated unfamiliar faces. This wasn't just about the two damaged brothers on a journey of redemption. This was a call to vulnerability, a plea for authenticity. Today marks a turning point in our lives, Mark added, turning his gaze to the guests assembled. This isn't merely a confrontation. It's an opportunity to redefine what it means to be family, to put forth measures of trust and honesty as our guide. David felt a swell of solidarity between them. This uncharted territory they were embarking upon was filled with uncertainty, and yet pulsed with transformative potential. Let's prioritize healing, David emphasized. Our journey transcends rivalry. It's an invitation into the beauty of connection. We owe it to our family legacy to confront the past and stand together anew as brothers. With every word spoken into the room, a wave of clarity swept through him. He stood confident in his identity, steady in acknowledging his fears, and firmly rooted in affection for those around him. As the ballroom filled with whispers of acceptance and intrigue, David felt the palpable shift. The unspoken connection between himself and Mark grew stronger. They had not just confronted their insecurities, but had also begun to forge that necessary bridge between them, spurring connections that extended far beyond this moment. And it was within this newfound clarity that David realized he had finally stepped into the light. Not just as an accountant, or a father, or a brother, but as a man reborn through vulnerability. The journey of liberation was only just beginning, but now, he carried himself forward wreathed in the strength of honesty, a gentleman who had conquered both his past and his future. As the moment stretched into the future, the audience began to erupt in applause, validating the transformation before them. And as David relished this moment of recognition, he embraced the notion that he had taken the most vital step forward, both as an individual and a brother. And that's how new beginnings emerge. But before you leave, this is your moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help share these important messages with others who may need it. Comment below your reactions and theories about this conclusion. I want to hear from you. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.